Thanks so much everyone who entered the Win a General Blue Saga DVD contest. And now, after assigning all the contestants a number and using a random number generator, I am happy to announce that the winner of the contest and this 2-disc DVD set is... Colin Albert. Congratulations, Colin. You'll be hearing from me soon. Just throwing this out there, if anyone knows where I can get a copy of the Region 4 Saga of Goku DVD set, or if you have one you'd like to sell, please let me know. I need those first 13 episodes before I can start tackling filler in Dragon Ball dissection. Piccolo's day is starting to get a little tense. Not only is he extremely incensed that someone has killed Symbol and Tambourine, Pilaf now points out to him that someone else is collecting the Dragon Balls. Piccolo can see the glass half full, though. All that means is that someone's doing his work for him. They'll have to confront him over the one Dragon Ball he has, and then he'll be able to retrieve all of them from their half-empty corpses. Obviously, the Dragon Ball hunters are the Muten Roshi, Tenshinhan, and Chaozu, although hunt is rather an overstatement. We only get to see them actually collect one ball, and that just seems to be in an open field. And while that does really take the bite out of what was previously an epic quest, it's hard for me to object to it. A big Dragon Ball hunt would just bog the story down, and in-universe it actually makes sense. With the Dragon Balls now being used so comparatively often, there wouldn't be time for all of them to be individually stumbled upon by other people, passed down as heirlooms and the like, or even time for them to be lost to nature. Pilaf's ship arrives at Goku's location, and due to Mai not knowing the difference between inside and outside speakers, Yajirobe and Goku hear the name of the great Demon King Piccolo for the first time. Yajirobe actually recognizes the name and, realizing just who it is he's pissed off, hastily hands his Dragon Ball over to Goku and pulls out his most devastating technique: running away. It's super effective. Piccolo demonstrates that the Crane School's Buku Jutsu was not just a one-off specialty move, and that every major fighting character from this point on is either going to learn to fly, or be equipped with flight as a standard feature straight out of the box. Goku does not take kindly to people flying when he can't. He is the main character after all. So he beats Piccolo around for a little bit until Piccolo has had enough of that, and shows that not only has he monogrammed the demon kanji on his robes, but also on the clothes he wears underneath. Now that's attention to detail right there. Before this point, Toriyama's main narrative thrust when it came to Goku's fights was emphasizing the humor in having villains severely underestimate Goku and receiving a satisfying comeuppance. A common criticism of the Red Ribbon Army arc is just how easily Goku breezes through most of the fights. And even in a battle like the one with Tao Pai Pai, where Goku does lose, it's quick. But here, Goku is struggling. Seriously struggling. And Piccolo is milking the fight, drawing it out for his own sadistic pleasure. This fight is just rough. Realistically rough. When Goku gets a smart mouth, Piccolo just punches him in the face. And the reaction is about what you'd expect from someone taking a blow to the face. But it's also inspiring to see Goku refuse to give up when he's losing, even going so far as to bite Piccolo's hand in order to force him to let him go. He does manage to genuinely scare Piccolo when he pulls out a Kamehameha, but that's only because Piccolo mistakes it for a Mafuba. But since it isn't, Piccolo pulls out a new Dragon Ball cliché, appearing in silhouette behind a cloud of smoke after a seemingly devastating attack to let your enemy know that he accomplished diddly squat. Having achieved that, Piccolo hits Goku with a massive blast, and that seems to be the end of it. Goku's heart has stopped beating. Piccolo takes the Dragon Ball and goes about his merry way. Now, this is one of those Red Ribbon repeats I mentioned in Part 1, and this one just drives me crazy. While I love that panel of Goku succumbing to the blast, this whole thing just falls flat for me because it's a retread, and compared to what it's ripping off, it's just pathetic. Remember that episode of Star Trek where Kirk and Spock are trapped in a fight to the death and the only way Dr. McCoy can figure out to save Captain Kirk is to drug him and feign the appearance of death? That was clever. Remember in the Red Ribbon Army arc when Goku seemingly dies and it turns out the only thing keeping him alive was the Dragon Ball he had kept in his dogi, that his grandfather had in essence saved him? That was also clever. Now remember in the Piccolo arc when Goku is seemingly killed by Piccolo to the point where his heart actually stops beating and he only manages to survive because... well, for no reason at all, really? And that's my problem with this. When this plot device was used before, there was a legitimate reason why Goku didn't die. It was a legitimate reason that was also thematically appropriate. It was a legitimate reason that gave the villain a reason to have to come back. And it was a legitimate reason that made the villain look realistically careless without making him look stupid. It was perfect. Here, there is no reason. There is no theme. The fight just needed to end, so it did. And it wasn't even enough for Toriyama to just have Piccolo assume Goku was dead. He actually had to have him check for a heartbeat. So, was Goku only mostly dead and came back to life because the readers clapped their hands or something? Or is Piccolo just that big of an idiot? And despite going so far as taking away Goku's heartbeat, Toriyama doesn't even play this up as an end-of-chapter cliffhanger. Before the chapter's even over, Goku is up and planning his next move. Way to ring out the drama there, Toriyama. For such a good fight, the ending is such a letdown for me because it manages to copy the action while abandoning the substance. Yajirobe re-enters the story to deliciously demonstrate his morally gray character. While he only returns now that the damage has been done, when he realizes that Goku is still alive, he quickly provides aid without any outside provocation. And when Goku asks for a lift to Karin Tower, Yajirobe obliges, although ensuring the promise of more food. Now Piccolo has 2 Dragon Balls, and the Muten Roshi and the others have 5. Now that they've realized Piccolo's coming after them, they have to set their plan in motion. And you know it's serious because the sunglasses are coming off. They arrive at one of those barren, rocky landscapes that are going to start cropping up all over the place soon, and then, well, it's a relatively short confrontation, but boy does a lot happen. The original plan has them burying their balls. Tenshinhan and the Muten Roshi will try to recover Piccolo's balls. When they do, they'll give them to Chaozu, hiding separately, who will summon Shen Long and wish to destroy Piccolo. Not sure why Chaozu needs to be separate for this. However, when Piccolo arrives and, knowing a trap when he sees one, swallows the balls for safekeeping, that plan falls apart. Now the only option is to confront Piccolo directly. Gee, if only there was some precedent of a villain swallowing Dragon Balls and having Shen Long summoned from inside of him. Well, not in this continuity, so a fight it is! This suits Tenshinhan just fine. Up until now, Tenshinhan has gone along with the Muten Roshi's plans, but he has taken a few opportunities to voice his disagreement with the idea of having Shen Long take care of Piccolo for them. He doesn't find that satisfying, especially when he secretly realizes that the Muten Roshi does know the Mafuba. Muten Roshi, on the other hand, is much more practical in his approach. It doesn't matter how Piccolo is defeated as long as it happens. And this is keeping in step with their characters up to this point. When he was first training Goku and Kuririn, Kame-Sennin told the boys the power is not meant to show off, but, if necessary, defeat those who would subjugate others. As Jackie Chun, he had no qualms with forfeiting the match, something Tenshinhan could not even begin to comprehend. Tenshinhan is all about the pride of the martial artist, proving himself, showing off his skills. But for Jackie, it wasn't about himself, it was about the kids. It was about teaching them the lessons they needed to grow as people and become responsible martial artists. So once again, the Muten Roshi insists on putting Tenshinhan's and the world's needs above his own by refusing to let Tenshinhan fight and die and instead going to face Piccolo alone. When Tenshinhan protests, the Muten Roshi breaks out his ultimate weapon, continuity, by reminding him of the immortality elixir he had drunk that would keep him from dying. But Tenshinhan wasn't in the story when this plot point was brought up before, so it has no effect. With that not immediately working, the Muten Roshi just breaks out the Tenshinhan repellent bat spray he borrowed from Adam West to knock him out. And then he says, "Oh yeah, by the way, that whole immortality thing's being retconned away right now, so I'm not even sure why I brought this up except to let the readers know that I can die, which means that I probably will." He attempts the Mafuba, he misses, and he dies, sending out Obi-Wan Kenobi vibes so powerful that even Goku can feel it. In all seriousness, though, this arc does contain the last time the Muten Roshi has a leading role in Dragon Ball. While he does later come back to life, his character arc is fulfilled, and he largely spends the rest of the series relegated to the background, unfortunately, never managing to reach anywhere near the heights his students will. And yet he remains one of the more popular characters in the series, and I think that's largely because of how he was handled. While I glossed over it, his heroic sacrifice was written very strongly. More importantly, though, is his attitude. It's the fact that Toriyama allowed him to go out on his own terms, not once, but twice. His losses weren't embarrassing or pathetic. If anything, the fact that he lost made him seem more heroic and fearless. I don't care if I lose the championship, I'll jump out of the ring with a smile on my face. I don't care if I die, I'm going to confront Piccolo and manage to scare the ever-loving crap out of him before I do. And like all good mentor characters, he has to die so that characters like Tenshinhan and Goku can prove that they've learned the lessons he's passed down, even if this is a world where death is cheaper than is often expected. Maybe the Muten Roshi shouldn't have actually pointed out where they buried the Dragon Balls, though. It would have been nice, as his last act of defiance, to force Piccolo to have to scrounge around in the dirt for them. But, oh well. Piccolo gets the Dragon Balls and summons Shen Long. Since Chaozu is incapable of doing anything for himself, it takes a semi-conscious Ten Shinhan to telepathically instruct him to pull an oolong and wish for Piccolo's death. At least Ten Shinhan isn't so blinded by his pride that he refuses to accept that solution even now. So Chaozu tries, and Chaozu dies. And at this moment, if the readers hadn't already figured this out, they should know that Chaozu is, sadly, a complete waste of a character, and Toriyama seems to be going out of his way to get rid of him as quickly as possible. He only managed to do 2 things this arc before dying. He found a Dragon Ball, and he buried the Dragon Balls. He hardly had any lines. While Ten Shinhan and the Muten Roshi were debating about what to do, he was just sitting there silently, along for the ride. And now he goes out like a total punk. And it's a shame because he could have been engrossing, but it's obvious, and it's going to continue to be obvious, that Toriyama simply has no interest in trying to do anything with him. As far as the story goes, his death does make it feel that much more hopeless, but not nearly as much as Piccolo killing Shen Long as soon as he gets his wish. I said before that killing Kuririn was a wham moment that was difficult to top. Well, this tops it. As of now, no one can come back to life. The titular objects of this entire series no longer exist. No wonder people thought this is going to be the end of the series. But as far as the writing is concerned, it's fairly obvious that Toriyama had to do this. He was writing a more serious story, one in which the drama was created through the threat of our main characters being killed off by this evil menace. However, this was already a series that had established that dying could be reversed. Those 2 things are not compatible. So the Dragon Balls had to go, at least for a little bit, in order to ensure that events had consequences. And nearly every subsequent story arc is going to contain at least one factor that keeps death from being too cheap. So now Piccolo has regained his youth. The good guys have failed at every possible opportunity so far. Now it's time for Piccolo to take over the world. And luckily for him, this world is set up in such a way that makes that task incredibly easy.